Hi there, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Alba.
I'm John Humphrey.
We are going to watch from the Warp Zone, Captain America's life after Endgame. One can only predict how that went down.
I hope it's like the script I wrote called Warp Zone back in 6th grade. Starred you and me. We were brothers. It was like sci-fi. And you know, it was gonna be. I didn't really work out the plot. All right,
let's watch this. If you don't have a story, don't bring it up, John.
There was the one about the guy who gets sucked into his recycling can and then has to. Never mind.
Would you look at that?
He's blonde.
The Yankees are playing the Dodgers in the World Series. You gonna tell me who wins?
Oh, Peg, you know I can't do that.
Come on, you can't even give me a hint?
Seriously, honey, we've talked about this. My mission was to return all the Infinity Stones to the exact time and places that we got them in order to preserve the honor.
Yeah.
If I were to tell you anything about the future, no matter how insignificant it might seem, it would change the way history unfolds, creating a whole new timeline. And believe me, I already have enough weighing on my conscience as it is. Besides, I've lived through the future. I know this world will do just fine without my help.
I know. You can't blame a girl for trying. Oh, JFK is going to Dallas over the weekend.
Well, I'm sure that will be a very uneventful weekend.
Oh God, no. I've expected him to do the Key and Peele sweat.
Going to war again? Well, at least Vietnam is a small country. I'm sure we'll be out of there in no time. Right, Steve? Come on. You can't tell me anything that happens at the Munich Olympics.
Oh God.
No, I don't think I will.
No, I don't think I
will.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh, my niece Amanda just had a baby. Uncle Steve, meet your new grandniece, Sharon Carter.
Oh God.
Look at her. She's so cute. Couldn't you just kiss her?
Nope. Never. Not even a little bit. Yuck. Everything all right, hon?
Steve, I can't shake the feeling that something is going on within S.H.I.E.L.D. It's like some nefarious group is hiding right under our noses and pulling the strings for God knows good purpose. No. It almost feels like I'm back in the war and Hydra is lurking about again.
What? That's so crazy.
You wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you, Steve?
You know what I need? More salad.
Because not only would that forever tarnish my legacy and ruin my life's work, but it could also put millions of innocent people's lives at stake.
Steak! That's what the salad needs. More steak.
Steve Rogers, you look at me. Tell me I'm wrong. Thank God. That's relief. Yes, thank you. Steve, I have the most horrible news. Howard and Maria's stock were just killed in a car crash.
Oh no, that is terrible news that I'm now just learning for the first time.
I just can't believe they're gone.
Damn it, Buck.
What was that?
Damn Buick, that's so unreliable. Saved it.
Now that my retirement is finalized, I think it's time for us to invest our little nest egg in the market. I've narrowed it down to these two new internet companies, Amazon or Webvan. Which do you think, Steve?
Whichever you feel, dear.
Well, it is our entire life savings. I'd hate to make the wrong choice.
Follow your gut, hon.
You're right. My instincts usually serve me well. Wed van it is.
I feel like he
Could have pushed her.
he could have just flipped that
See,
coin to
now.
the Amazon.
I feel like we haven't taken a trip in ages. What do you say we go up to New York next week and tour the town?
Sounds good, honey. When do you want to go?
I was thinking midweek. Say the 11th of September.
Oh, God!
So
I know.
Oh,
The much she says that exact day. The 11th of September.
I better go to that. Though I really can't see why it's necessary. Nobody in my family has ever had Alzheimer's.
Ooh.
Everything all right, dear?
Hey everybody, Oda from the Warp Zone here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out another cool video, hit the box down here. If you want to join our community of patrons, hit the box up here. Alright, and I am out of here. I'm still here, aren't I? Really thought that was going to work. Okay.
that moment we shared where I was like, yeah, I saw that coming, and you were like, just the fact that she said the specific word, I think that encapsulates what is great about this sketch. Is it's just one repetitive joke that's 100% predictable as long as you know history, but it's in the little nuances of how they scripted it and how the actors did it that, yeah, really brought this to life.
I was lost in that. My mind just started going, this whole idea with Captain America doing what he did at the end of Endgame has just raised so many questions. So many questions, and they just don't stop coming up. And then whenever I see these spoof sketches from how it should have ended, from how did Cap get the stones back, then this of how he lived his life with Peggy Carter, knowing all these things that would happen, and I've heard that argument that wouldn't that go against Cap's whole philosophy? What makes him him? What makes his core?
If he could just also be around too, he could just stop more events.
He's just letting all this stuff happen. I got a character thing to pick here as if this was a real thing that went on in the MCU.
This is canon.
With the whole choice of Amazon, what was the other one? I never heard of the other one. God, I never heard of that one.
Yeah.
That was going to be like Apple or something. I like the idea that he's like, he knows which one's going to be successful.
Yeah.
And I thought the choice of choosing Amazon or one that no one's ever heard of is a great call because you're like, well, clearly Amazon's the winner. I think it's like good writing to do that either way, even if that is just the reality of it. So, but in that moment, I was like, well, Peggy never had this life with Steve Rogers before, so does it matter if if they end up choosing Amazon? Like, can't he just push her in that direction? Would it really matter if she did that? I don't know. What else does it affect?
What does that, yeah?
Does it affect everyone else who like bother to invest in Amazon too, you know?
That would be a really interesting what if movie where it's basically like Peggy and Steve trying to contain it, trying to be like, okay, only we will know and we will at least use the parts that won't drastically affect the world to our advantage, and how hard that could be.
I feel like you could do such a cool what if story with him knowing what's going to go on. He lets a few things happen, then after a while it just starts to drive him mad to the point where he has to do something and he tries to prevent a very specific real world historical event.
That would be a cool like nomad story. You watching Marvel?
You watching Warp Zone? That being said, this is a great sketch.
This was delightful.
First off, I do notice the font that you guys used for the for the years. It's very reminiscent of the Russo brothers' choice of font for Captain America: Civil War. The idea of how it starts off with historical events and then tying it in with SHIELD or MCU timeline events, I thought was very clever.
It's not just one tragedy after another. It's
like,
oh, here's something that's going to affect the MCU that would have been really nice to know about because, we're going to lose something down the line because Steve couldn't speak up.
The idea of how he avoids things with the salad and the steak, and then out of nowhere at the end, he just has the sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I always appreciate just a good running, like, switch out the prop gag, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it just gets wackier and wackier. Mashed potatoes is a good call.
Such a simple idea of a sketch, but so thought-provoking if you're super into the MCU,
Well,
you know?
And the thing is, I think it works as well as it does because you would have to imagine that they would have to get into this experience a lot. Like, there's so many things that would happen, theoretically, that, he would have to keep quiet about so much.
Oh, JFK.
Yeah, JFK is going to be in town. When do you want to go? On the 11th of September, I'm thinking. Middle of the week. Like,
oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. It was weird. It's like they get there and you're like, oh, I don't know. There's something about the way they handled this joke that really gets its point across. Like, it's funny, I hadn't thought about it until we watched How Cap Returned the Stones. I just hadn't, like, put that much time into deconstructing that. And now, since then, all I can think about when it comes to the MCU is, like, how does this even work? And this video is just adding to that. It's like, I just wanted to believe Cap and Peggy lived happily ever after, and now I can't.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's because there's so much that goes against Captain America's code.
Yeah, especially with the whole Hydra bit, too. Like, and Bucky and,
Unless, of course, that's the dilemma that comes into play here. Are there two Steve Rogers, basically?
On the same timeline.
On the same timeline, yeah. Is there a Steve Rogers that went under the ice and then wakes up in 2012 or something, you know?
Yeah.
And by this point, that Steve Rogers is now an old dude. But then how does that explain, like, has this Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter relationship just been secret? No one, all these years, decades, no one has,
like,
no one has
people
noticed
know
that
Captain America.
Peggy is with him. It just raises all kinds of questions, and it's not about the details and the specifics.
It's supposed to be a fairy tale ending.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the fairy tale ending, and it's about the feeling that it emits, that Endgame ending. And I'm so on board for it, and in the moment of every time I've seen Endgame, I adore the shit out of that ending. I do.
That's what you want for Cap.
I adore it. But then knowing that Marvel has this whole thing with time travel and timelines and the what ifs, it makes you go, well, how exactly is this timeline working out? You kind of got to ponder, and I think what's cool is that throughout this, we can fantasize about some cool storytelling that can go on. It's also led to some hilarious ass sketches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it has been rife for comedians to pick apart.
Well, this was special. Warp Zone, guys, subscribe to the Warp Zone channel. Click that notification. I really love this sketch. This is super funny.
Yeah, this was delightful.
Lance Dorr, this is a top reward tier video request. I don't know if I mentioned that. This is from Lance Dorr, who just got engaged.
Oh, Lance!
He sent me, I asked him to send me a video of it. I don't know if I can put it up here. Maybe if I can,
engagement?
I can. He proposed to his girl in front of the Eiffel Tower. This perfect shot with the Eiffel Tower in the background. She didn't see it coming.
Oh.
You didn't see that coming. Now they're engaged. You know, finally, you got yourself your own Peggy Carter.
Dude.
Man, having your own Peggy Carter, I would say now that you're gonna marry her, peg her harder. That's your wedding gift right there.
Oh man, you should Skype in for a speech.
Come on, it works. Peg her harder.
Lance Dorr is a Lance whore for your love.
Why hasn't the Warp Zone invited us to
don't
write for
know.
them? I
we
don't
have
get
such
it.
great ideas.
This is what you
I want to
call
see how Lance returns the stones.
witty, clever comedy.